in the form of books, magazines, and comic strips. Our kids are also encouraged to become members of organizations that promote sexually deviant behavior and the exploitation of minors. Be sure to take advantage of this notice of liability, which will advise teachers, librarians, trustees, ministers, etc., that they will be held personally liable for exposing minors to any form of pornography or sexually explicit material, as well as any activities or organizations promoting sexual deviancy and the exploitation of minors. By using this valuable NOL, you have the ability to demand that the CSE learning resources be immediately and completely removed from libraries and the education system. That all of the books listed, including titles by the same authors, be immediately removed, and that all educational facilities, including libraries, cease and desist promotion of any and all activities, including performers and clubs that exploit our innocent, impressionable, and vulnerable children and youth. Knowing is not enough. You must take action. Here are some powerful actions you can take to protect our youth, no matter your age or station in life. Pull your children out of public schools and universities. Run, facilitate, join, or help with a homeschool group. Get involved in writing letters and serving notices of liability. Run for office as a school board trustee, mayor, or city councillor. Connect with an Action for Canada chapter near you. We cannot ignore this message. Our children and youth are being subjected to twisted ideologies using social justice as a means to indoctrinate and groom them, and we must protect them. Thank you for taking a stand to protect kids. If you like what we're doing at Action for Canada, please consider making a donation to support our ongoing work. And be sure to join a chapter near you. God bless you, and God bless Canada.
Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is a critically important conversation we're going to have tonight, or presentation, shall I say. After the Tumbler Ridge tragedy that was preventable, I decided to do this presentation tonight because I think that we need to focus on who is responsible. And as this unfolds tonight, you'll see that this is coming from SOGI 123, Wynne Sex Ed in Ontario, Back to Basics in Nova Scotia, and by other names across the country, all under the banner of comprehensive sexuality education. It's time to call it out, it's time to remove it, and it's time to hold those responsible for bringing this into the school system and harming our children en masse. And so we'll dig right in right now. I do want to say that if you're not aware, and this is the first time maybe you're joining the show and learning about Action for Canada, we have been on the front line of this fight against SOGI 123 since 2017, and we've consistently warned of the profound measurable harms that SOGI, which is embedded throughout the education system from kindergarten to university, is causing our youth and our children. For decades, LGBTQ activists have been infiltrating the education system and government so that they could push this unscientific radical ideology, weaving it into every subject to eliminate parental opt-out options. If you don't know the history of this, they really strategically unfolded this attack against our children through first amending the Human Rights Code. They did it provincially, and then they did it federally through Bill C-16. After they did that, well, at least in 2016 is when they brought SOGI 123 in British Columbia, and they implemented, and then they did it federally through Bill. Oh, that was strange. And then they implemented it through the education system. It was never called a curriculum, it was called a resource. And so they launched it into about a dozen, half a dozen, yeah, about a dozen pilot schools in BC. And then by September of 2017, they began to fast track it into every single school throughout BC. They've done the same in Alberta, Saskatchewan, all under the radar. These activists were lobbying government and pushing for this. At the same time, because this is a global agenda, it's called Comprehensive Sexuality Education at the United Nations and WHO. The WHO also removed transgenderism from the list of mental health disorders in 2019. So that's why I mean strategically and incrementally, they positioned all of this in order to try and stop us. Oh, it's a human right to be gender expression and gender identity. It's a human right. Don't violate their human rights. Never mind, they're trampling over everybody else's human rights. And then finally, with the support of all parties unanimously, including all of the conservatives, in 2021, they passed Federal Bill C4, which criminalizes parents, clergy, counselors who refuse to affirm gender confusion or facilitate children's medical mutilation. And with that, they can spend, if they're in violation of this, like that child comes home, 14-year-old girl, comes to mom and dad and starts talking like, I'm, born in the wrong body. I'm actually a boy. My name is now Sam. And the parents going like, looking around like, what are you talking about? Are you on drugs? It's like, oh, well, no, this is what they've taught the kids in the school. And so if a parent doesn't support this manufactured a gender dysphoria, the parents, the counselors, the pastor can spend 5 years in prison. That's how well they've set this up. It's all a violation of parental rights. It's against our Constitution and our Charter, but for lack of knowledge, people perish. And so we really need to get on the more and more Canadians to get on the front line of this and refuse to support it. So what I want to do now, I'm going to start sharing screen. Just give me a moment here to get that set up. There we are. And what I'm going to start with is that Canada is a Christian nation. And I know there's going to be some of you that are watching, you may be atheist or agnostic, and you may believe in secularism, Canada being a secular nation. And I'm going to challenge you on that. I'm continuing, like for years now, I've been challenging our viewers that we need patriotism in Canada. We need to be able to embrace what Canada is actually about. You've got all these other countries doing it. Repeatedly 56 Islamic majority countries, man, they love Islam and they love their Quran. The majority of people don't because they're living under oppression, but the government's running the system think, yeah, this is great. They've got a lot of power. They're dictating what people can think and every move that they make. Same in communist countries such as China and North Korea. You have India and Pakistan. These are all built on a belief system, which becomes not only their belief system as far as this so-called religions, it becomes their political system. And I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to live in any of those countries that I've named. But prior to the communists trying to come in and take over Canada, I would have said we had a great deal going on here because Canada was founded on biblical Christian principles that are embedded in our laws and our Constitution and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and, of course, the Coronation Oath. And it gives us the system of governance to have the freedom to believe or not to believe without fear of persecution, oppression, or even death. And so for my atheist friends out there and agnostics, I'm asking you to consider this, that even though you may not believe in the God of the Bible, you do enjoy the benefits of living in a Christian nation. And as I go through this presentation tonight, by the end of it, you're going to go, by gum, Tanya, I'm going to stand up for Christian values and a Christian government in Canada because, we were once upon a time thriving economically and, as far as our families were concerned and the structure was good. And we were given a gift and we've turned our back on God. And we've brought in the communists. People have voted them in, and now they've stolen a couple of elections. So it's hard to say what's what. But if you come to Action for Canada and you just put in the search engine that Canada is a Christian nation, you'll see the document. We are asking everybody possible, please share this with friends and family and elected officials. This is really foundational to turning around what is going on in our schools, what's going on in government, and in society at large. And I'm going to prove that tonight. And I'm going to start off by just emphasizing the parental rights. This is another resource that we have. If you go into the search engine and you put parental rights, you'll come up with the page and the resource in this document. And again, please share it with family members and co-workers and especially elected officials. Everybody needs an education. They're not getting it in the school system. They're being indoctrinated into these social justice programs. And so it's important for us to repeat this until it becomes everybody's truth again. So the opening line says, in Canada, parental rights predate the state and arises from natural and divine law. The right of parents to educate, guide, and protect their children is enshrined in our Constitution, Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the law, and the biblical foundations of our nation, including and especially the Coronation Oath. Maybe I should add that to that page. Canada's constitutional framework is rooted in the supremacy of God, of the Bible. Just why anybody would need to say that, it's all in everything. When you go look up the other document, you'll see historically how everything that we have, whether it was the anthem or what's embedded in our parliament building, it's all scripture. It's all based on the God of the Bible. Okay, on the supremacy of God and the rule of law, as declared in the preamble to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This foundational statement is not merely symbolic, it defines the moral and legal hierarchy upon which our democracy was built. Rights and freedoms in Canada flow from a higher authority than the state itself, and that's God. They are endowed by the God of the Bible, whose moral law undergirds common law, constitution, and the very principles of justice and liberty. Our system of governance is therefore accountable not to secular ideology, and SOGI 123, LGBTQ, all of this trans ideology, it's an ideology, it's not based on science, so it's based on this secular ideology, but to the divine moral order revealed through scripture, the same truth that inspired the Magna Carta, guided the Coronation Oath, and shaped Canada's founding institutions. And I would just encourage you to look up this document and read the rest of it. It's very important that you educate yourself. Again, I'm going to emphasize that there's no such thing as a separation of church and state. The communists, when they got in, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Justin Trudeau, and I could make a whole long list of others, said there's a separation of church and state. And it's like, absolutely not. That's just a lie by the communists and the Marxists and those who want to come in and destroy our Christian heritage because freedom does not exist. Democracy does not exist in non-Christian countries. And I say God did not say appoint 12 tribes of atheists. He said appoint the 12 tribes of Israel. In the Bible, it said go out and find like strong, godly leaders to run the 12 tribes. And we are not setting a precedence when we are going to elections. We're not helping men and women of integrity, of moral integrity, with a biblical foundation to rise up and run for office, because I can tell you we would not be dealing with all of these situations with our open borders and with our kids being sexualized and indoctrinated and groomed in the school had we elected the right people into office and been actively involved all along the way. So again, this will be my final part of this, but every year we have a 7-week prayer walk for revival nationwide. You can see our chapters all the way across that. And Jenny, I'm going to give you a shout out for creating the image. It's awesome. And every year we pray, and every year God works a miracle. Like in 2023, we did the 7-week prayer walk for revival from Passover to Pentecost. And that is the year that SOGI 123, we won the battle that we were fighting in Saskatchewan to keep SOGI 123 out of Saskatchewan, and we got Planned Parenthood banned, as well as a third party that could sexualize our children in the school systems. In 2025, last year, we ended up having great success when Danielle Smith and the Alberta team made an awesome decision after, we had presented credible evidence of the measurable harms to our children regarding the explicit books. And we ended up amazingly, miraculously, the process of getting the books removed from the schools. We're lobbying to get SOGI 123. I'm going to be talking about this through this. There's going to be an action. If you haven't joined Action for Canada right now, will you go to do that? Go to our webpage, and in the menu, you'll see join. Click on the link and sign up, because then you'll get our weekly emails and all of the calls to action. And we're going to come out in full force against every premier education minister and health minister across Canada. And we're going to start holding them accountable for what's happening to our children. And that's the point of tonight's presentation as well. So if there isn't a chapter, you can go to the we're going to be emailing this out to everybody. But if you wanted to go prayer walk for revival, it is under resources on the church page. We will be emailing it out. And we just really, really encourage you to go through the process. If there's not a chapter in your area, just get a group of people together and, pray around the school boards and the city councils. And if you've got a Planned Parenthood, operating in your neighborhood, if you know where the Pride Path is right before June, start praying down those streets and asking for God to release this nation from all the sexual depravity. And there's going to have to be a spirit of repentance in there as well. You're going to have to say, Lord, like somehow I was sleeping and I wasn't on, paying attention, or however it was. I know they were very sneaky and crafty, but we do have to bear some responsibility as well if we weren't out helping people get elected and really opposing what's been going on within the school systems when we did become knowledgeable about it. I'm happy to say that as soon as I found out about this, I made it my business to get out here and try to warn as many people as possible. And, there was times I paid a high price for it because I've been attacked and slandered and maligned. But I always considered the source of who it was. And did I care what they were saying? No, I didn't care what they were saying. It was more important to protect our children, and that over time we're succeeding and they are being defeated. Their ideologies are being defeated. Their ideas are being defeated because they're wicked and evil. And we got to put our kids ahead of and above worrying about what people would have to say about us. And I know for some of you, I'm even going to challenge you. I know people like, I had Dallas Brody on last week, and it was just an amazing Empower Hour. She gave her testimony at an event we had on that we put together on Friday, that she was our special guest and spoke at. And she's been maligned and her reputation smeared and called bad names. And she's sitting in legislature being really, really attacked, but she was willing to take that on because she believes in the truth, and she believes she needs to be proclaiming it. So tonight's topic, of course, is SOGI 123 is indoctrinating our kids to death. We want to put a stop to it. I'm going to go over the statistics. This just gives you an idea of the comprehensive sexuality called SOGI 123, or Back to Basics, Wynne Sex Ed. I could go on and on, but we just want to, in one image can be worth 1,000 words. And that, this young person here may very well be a boy. That would be the way that the message we would want to come, who's just completely confused and not been put on these hormone blockers and cross-sex hormones, and at the same time doing psychedelics and weed and having very, very serious and bad outcomes. Like I say, I'll dig into that. But first, I'm going to play this video. And just to give you, I don't know who did this, but I came across it recently, and I thought, this is definitely something that it will help you put things in perspective of what's happening to our kids.
Meet Sarah. She suffers from osteoporosis, severe depression, and a series of dangerous infections. What's her story? Some unavoidable medical tragedy? A rare disease? Actually, none of the above. Her problems are a result of elective treatments, facilitated by trusted adults. Let's start at the beginning. Sarah's been a tomboy her whole life, preferring superheroes over princesses. But it's not so simple anymore. Sarah's body is changing quickly in ways she doesn't understand, and no one really explains to her. She finds a stack of books on display at school, saying that some people are born in the wrong body. Some kids that look like girls are actually boys. Sarah talks to her parents. She uses terms they have never heard before: gender dysphoric feelings, non-conforming gender identities, non-traditional pronouns. She says she's a boy and has been all along. Her parents are overwhelmed and confused. Since they were in school, there has been a 920% rise in trans youth. Sarah is taken to a psychiatrist who prescribes her a series of hormone blockers, one of which is used in chemical castrations. The doctor doesn't have much of a choice since his network's code of conduct forbids any challenge to gender identity. At first, Sarah's parents are skeptical, but he asks a powerful question. Would you rather have a living son or a dead daughter? Besides, it's all reversible. 2 years later, the testosterone has bulked up Sarah's physique. Her voice is deeper, but she feels deflated, with little energy, and has head and muscle aches, which are disregarded as common side effects. The testosterone hasn't affected her growing breasts, so she is scheduled for top surgery. She has to keep going, right? This surgery leads to cosmetic complications. Fast forward to college and her fresh start as her truest self. But still unhappy, she researches bottom surgery. There are serious risks, but aren't the risks worth it? Completing her transition would make everything different. She's right about that. Now Sarah's 23 years old and should be in her physical prime, but her health has never been worse. She's needed 3 corrective surgeries, had 2 bouts of internal bleeding, and a parade of infections. No one told her the hormone blockers would decrease her bone density, or that bottom surgeries have a complication rate 40 to 70% higher than what is acceptable for any other medical procedure. She's on 3 different antidepressants. No one ever explained that those who've transitioned experience suicidal ideation at much higher rates than the general population. But of course she wasn't told those things. Transitional surgeries are a major financial asset, worth over $2 billion annually nationwide, and growing. Sarah considers speaking about her experience, but fears being labeled as hateful, bigoted, transphobic. And that's not her. Every year, thousands upon thousands of kids are ushered down the exact same path. The same medications, the same therapists, the same surgeries. The exact same risks await these kids. Who's going to tell them?
Tank, you just have to unmute.
Okay, sorry, thank you. Yeah, so this video is actually from 2 years ago. And you can imagine that with all the indoctrination in the school, which is the source, absolutely 100% is the source of this mass social contagion. And that's why I'm saying over and over again tonight that people behind this need to be held accountable because of the measurable harms. So this has risen. I'm going to show you the doctor, one of the Dr. Mengelas that is torturing our children, abusing them, mutilating their bodies. And so as we move forward here, the one thing that I did a couple of years ago, and the video is right here if you want to look it up. It's on our webpage as well, but on our Rumble page. I'm sorry, I have all these little pop-up things that are in the way. SOGI 123 is indoctrinating, sexualizing, grooming children. What I did was I took the SOGI 123 toolkit for teachers that a whistleblower had provided me, and I made that available to the public, but I did an in-depth. And 30 minutes in is when I actually start on the SOGI 123 toolkit, and I'm going to play just a minute of that, a minute or 2 of it. But I really encourage you to go through the whole video because I didn't want to repeat tonight what I've already done in the past. This is also at the very top of our political LGBTQ page, which I'll show you later on in the show where to get that on our website. And the opening goes through, I focused on BC, but you could do this in any province, as to Premier Christy Clark bringing this in. She was lobbied by trans activists. It shows her on the BC legislature on the stairs with 100 activists, no parent, Nobody else knew about the amendments coming to the Human Rights Code to include so-called gender expression and gender identity. And that as well, the Human Rights Code needs to be, revoked. It needs to be rescinded and removed because it is not an immutable characteristic. You can't put, what are they going to do? Put pedophilia on there next or furries? Is that how far this is going to go if we don't get this overturned? Because this was a strategic part in indoctrinating our children. So like I say, watch the video. You'll see all the different steps that they took to implement the strategy, the agenda to get us to where we are today. So I'll just play a short clip from that as well. Your child is safe in the school, as Alex Newman repeatedly says. If you saw the school actually burning physically on fire, would you send your child in there? Right? The answer would be a hard no. And these schools are on fire. Okay, why is SOGI important? Every subject and grade level reflect a core competency of understanding and uplifting diversity. Why? These are prepubescent children that aren't looking at you, whether you're gay or lesbian. Get over yourself. You are there to teach our children reading, writing, and arithmetic. None of this nonsense should be within our schools. We should also be forming our classroom environments to reflect the diverse gender identities and sexualities. Well, what does it say up above in the definition of grooming and the definition of sexuality, gender identity, and orientation? So keep those things in mind as we go through this. 2S LGBTQ youth are 7 times more likely than their heterosexual counterparts to attempt suicide. If we were to go back 20 years, that would be 0.001% of the population. It's a very small percentage of the population. And these children had underlying issues where they needed counseling. But now the government is prohibiting counseling, even though they're indoctrinating this and creating a mass social contagion. We'll get to that in a little bit. The truth of the matter is that when kids transition and kids that go down this path have a 19 times higher suicide rate than controls overall and 40 times higher for female to male individuals. Okay, so again, like I say, this video is just packed with important information. If you're not familiar with the document, again, I will show you where this is at the top of our LGBTQ page. And this document is to indoctrinate kids from kindergarten to grade 6. That's like what? What the heck? Are you deviants? Why are you wanting to introduce this, as I said, to prepubescent children? Why do they need to hear about sexuality? You're going to learn more as to why this is coming in and who is behind this and the kind of people that are behind this. It is sexual deviants, activists, pedophiles, people that need counseling themselves, people that are confused, and they need all of the society to support them so that they can have peace within themselves. And so instead, they're hurting so many people when they need help. And this is not the way to go about it. Now, when I sent out the weekly action this week, this is what it looks like. I hope that you're signed up with Action for Canada so you received it. I always try within 10 minutes to give you a download to educate you. You know, it's absolutely amazing. It's hours and hours and hours and hours that go into putting a page like this together to give you a strong, firm understanding and even to help you to think critically, because you've been groomed and indoctrinated yourselves as adults to accept all of this as if love is love and, you know, that we got to somehow give these minority groups special privilege. No. Expect the same out of them. Treat them equally so that they'll rise up and succeed in life. I don't get special privilege. You know, I should get some special privilege too. I saw, you know, with Barry Neufeld the other day, as you may have heard, he is being fined like $750,000 to pay to teachers and activists, LGBTQ activists within the school system because their feelings were hurt. It's like, well, my feelings are hurt, and I wouldn't mind being paid $750,000, and for all my time that I'm spending on this to try to expose it and to try to protect our children. You know, it's just, it's just so off base. And I've been saying for quite a while, for years and years, that the human rights commissions and tribunals, they need to be abolished. They have dueling rights. They are social justice activists that are using and have taken over this platform in order to move their radical ideas forward. All socialism, the Black Lives Matter, the DEI, that is completely what these tribunals are being used for, and they will only take on cases generally where they want to have a win and make an example of somebody. And Barry Neufeld has been through the ringer, and I just thank the Lord that he is actually going to appeal the tribunal's decision and all the way up to the Supreme Court, and we're going to get behind him and support him best we can. All right, so on some of this, I just wanted to drop some data on you. And I'll show you the reports. We'll also have some of this information. Well, we'll be sharing this link in the description of this video, so you can go in there and get this information I'm going to share with you right now. So I ask, are you aware? Data shows roughly 40% of successful and would-be school shooters were trans or trans suspected. 2 massive studies show selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors increase homicidal behavior and violent crime. And those are the drugs that, antidepressants. That's what SSRIs are. 40% of individuals identifying as transgender are prescribed SSRIs, which scientific evidence links to 43% higher risk of violent crime convictions. So I want you to keep this in mind. I want you to think about what happened to this young man in Tumbler Ridge. I'm saying David Eby and the education minister and the health minister in BC and the federal government are 100% responsible for the shooting that took place in Tumbler Ridge and what happened to this young man. And I'm going to show you the direction as well that David Eby is wanting to take this conversation. This was a preventable tragedy. So we go on to say many of the psychiatric drugs being prescribed have black box warnings for suicidal and homicidal ideation. And yet this is what they're giving to our children. And previously I've had Sarah on the show, who's a detransitioner. And at 14 years old, she went down that avenue through school, being introduced to a trans activist who said, if you're, uncomfortable with your body, in your body, then you most likely have gender dysphoria. What a reckless thing to say to a developing teenager. So she went down that path. She was put on the puberty blockers. She was put on the antidepressants. But at 15, 16, she was starting to question the direction that she was going. And instead of somebody talking rationally with her about this or her being able to have counseling, they ended up prescribing more antidepressants. And there's reports on this because they want to keep these kids as dumbed down as possible. Otherwise, it destroys, their position on this, that these kids are born in the wrong body. This is what they're doing to our children, knowing that 43% of these kids will have a higher rate of convictions. But not only that, the risks extend beyond violent crime to a 29% higher risk of accidents and a 98% higher risk of alcohol-related hospital visits. Now, it was said that this young man in Tumbler Ridge, that he was on psychedelics and smoking weed and stuff. Now, think about that. If you go to a pharmacy and this doctor has prescribed antidepressants, it says do not take with alcohol. There's a 98% higher risk of alcohol-related hospital visits. So you're giving these drugs en masse to our children who are going through, their teenage years. And what happens through the teenage years? So many of them end up going out partying when they get 16, 17 years old. And meanwhile, they're on these drugs. And why do you think there's a 43% higher risk? Could it be that they're able to mix these drugs with nobody overseeing them because they don't care? The doctors, David Eby, he doesn't care about this. And I'm going to continue to prove that that is the position I'm going to hold on. The long-term data, as it just said in the video, further shows sex reassignment individuals face triple, let that sink in, triple the overall mortality and a 19-fold higher suicide risk. So doctors like Dr. Wong here in the Lower Mainland in Vancouver, back in 2017 or 18, he was caught on in a recording. Parents were coming there now concerned because they're indoctrinating our kids and planting these crazy ideas in their head that they're born in the wrong body. So then Dr. Wong ran a gender dysphoria clinic. In 2010, he had like 4 kids in his clinic. And then it went from there to 1,000 children by, I think it was 2000, I want to say 2016 or 17. And he's on recording saying to parents, well, just tell them that your child's suicidal to fast track them onto the puberty blockers and through the gender dysphoria clinics. I mean, these people should be arrested. This is criminal, what's happening to our children. So this is just the report that that I provided that shows these the research that was done in Sweden. And I mean, these 2 reports, one had 785,000 plus SSRI users in one report, and the other one was 856. This is no small research, okay? It says individuals prescribed SSRI, Swedish National Registry, and they're the ones that have come out with these stats. These are legitimate reports. And the health minister and David Eby, they're being served the newest notice of liability where we're providing this information as well. But that's why they need to be held accountable. For years, they have been informed of the measurable harms, and it's time to hold these premiers, education ministers, and health ministers accountable. And every single teacher and counselor and principal and whoever else is within those school systems actively involved in indoctrinating our children and bringing them down this path. Another report, FDA officials warn of brain swelling, vision loss in minors using puberty blockers. Another report is, and this is statsforgender.org reporting this, boys receiving puberty blockers for gender dysphoria experienced irreversible changes to their testes. I mean, when they were talking on the video about bottom surgery, if you don't know what that means that with a boy, they'll remove their penis and make what they call an inverted hole because it's not a vagina. And with the girls, they cut a tendon out in the arm here. So they mutilate their arm and then attach this tendon below. And it is they mutilate these young women who go down this path. Mutilation. Nothing more that we can say about that, but exactly what it is. We have, as I've mentioned with Action for Canada, been on the front line of this fight. We've sent so many actions out on this issue, trying to bring awareness. And I give a shout out to Hans. He does a lot of our artwork for the actions that go out. And this one was called Ultimate Deception, Gender Affirming Care. They're not going to call it gender mutilation. They're calling it gender affirming care. Doesn't that sound nice? And they are sterilizing our kids as they're removing their breasts and cutting off their penises. And it's horrific. It's the most evil thing I've ever experienced in my whole life. And I've actually, in this report, referred to Section 268 of the Canadian Criminal Code as aggravated assault. Everyone commits an aggravated assault who wounds, maims, disfigures, or endangers the life of the compliant. So David Eby, the education ministers, Mark Carney, who paid for his daughter to go through these surgeries, Justin Trudeau, boy, oh boy, I pray that justice is coming. I know if not now, it's going to be when you stand before the Lord. I can promise you that. Now, this is 40 pages. This fella here is Dr. I'll have his name in a minute. I so sorry. I'll have his name in just a moment for you. But anyways, I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. Take a look at this. Thousands and thousands of our girls are having their bodies mutilated. And you'll see the doctor with his arms around him with the thumbs up, and he thinks he's a real superhero. Aren't these crimes against humanity? Shouldn't we be all outraged by this? Storming the gates, telling them to stop. There he is right there. Don't know if I can blow this up a little bit. Isn't he just proud of the work? He's just mutilated this young person. So we'll just carry on. This is the Paige McLean, Dr. McLean, that's his name. So it starts at the top 35 years of gender affirming care. Look at this. So right here it says top surgery, 25 plus years, but here 2,500 plus gender affirming surgeries will help you achieve your desired physical appearance goals. Meet our hand selected transition team. I think that we need to screenshot this and make sure that these ladies are just as accountable as Dr. McLean, because they are literally mutilating our children. Industry pioneers for top surgery procedures in Canada. And then down below, I want to be careful because it gets to some kind of graphic things. I won't keep scrolling down, but this is Dr. McLean. I came across this video and I just have to play it for a moment.
After working in community plastic surgery, I decided it was time to open my own clinic in 1988. And the clinic was a success. I did my fair share of tummy tucks, breast augmentations, and facelifts. But one day in 1999, a patient came to me and expressed how really deeply unhappy they were being a man in a woman's body, and they asked me to remove their breasts. Well, I'd never performed top surgery before. It certainly wasn't something we learned in medical school. But I applied first principles, and the operation was a success. The patient's friends heard about this, and there was a slow trickle of them coming in to see me for the procedure. And I remember thinking, I might do 3 or 4 of these a year. And then the internet happened. With the invention of Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, our numbers for top surgery skyrocketed as patients took to social media, eager to share their experiences. I soon had patients visiting from every corner of Canada, in addition to such faraway places as the UK, Israel, and even Australia. Well, the world certainly changed since I graduated from medical school in 1975. The new millennium ushered in a paradigm shift in our concept of gender. I used to think of gender as a spectrum. I now know it's a whole universe. As a surgeon, it's been truly rewarding to be part of this new wave of understanding and compassion, and to witness the transformative and life-affirming power that top surgery has brought to the lives of so many people in the discovery of their true authentic selves.
I'm sorry, in the discovery of their true authentic selves? I don't think God makes mistakes when we're conceived in the womb as either male or female. That's all there is. And as I've been going through this today and preparing and through the weeks and the months and the years, I'm like, should our doctors, should our elected officials, candidates go through a psych evaluation before they run for office? Before, they get into positions of authority? Didn't we go through this in World War II with Dr. Mengele using children and mutilating their bodies? I'm just blown away by the information and the individuals that are just they're not oblivious, but there's got to be something seriously wrong with anybody that would look at this and think this is okay. And especially now, throughout social media, you see the detransitioners, 19 times higher rate of suicide in children and youth who transition, so-called transition. They're not transitioning, they're being mutilated. And they don't understand that because they've been indoctrinated since kindergarten and now preschool. They've got this garbage coming in the preschools are mandated to have these books to introduce all of this deviancy. And we need to come out en masse. And I'm encouraging Canadians, viewers, please help us join Action for Canada. When we send a call to action out, whether you're like cringing and like, oh, I don't want my name on that, we're going to be calling out premiers, sign your name and send it, please. Send it registered mail, because we can change the direction that politics is going. And we're already doing that. We are becoming the louder voice, and we need to continue to do that until all of this is eradicated from within our schools and society. So here was the report that said roughly 40%, and this is since 2020, roughly 40% of successful and would-be school shooters were trans or trans suspected. Okay, there's a mass mental illness that they're trying to normalize. The government is manufacturing mental illness in our children within the school systems. When we drop them off in the video that I said, Alex Newman will always say the schools are on fire, and yet parents are handing their kids their paper bag or their lunchbox and saying, have a nice day, honey. And this is what's happening to our kids en masse. And this is what David Eby is turning around and saying. He's now trying to blame OpenAI for the shooting he feels that was preventable. If only OpenAI had communicated with us about what this young person was posting, then all of this wouldn't have happened. And I'm just going to skip to this article for a moment, because this article, I think, was from, was it February 12th? Yeah, February 12th, with this 12-year-old girl fighting for her life. And his comments were, Maya's plight moved BC Premier David Eby to tears during remarks after attending a community vigil in Tumbler Ridge. He said the vigil participants were asked to pray for Maya and her family. His quote was, "That moment for me is representative of the profound tragedy." He told reporters as he fought to hold back tears during an evening press conference, a beautiful child who went to school, was full of joy and love, who's clinging to life in a hospital right now. Eby said that 3 levels of government, municipal, provincial, and federal, who were present at the Tumbler Ridge vigil and news conference were assured supports are here. I'm outraged by hearing this. Outraged. Because the public, especially in BC en masse, different groups, Pierre Barnes, others, have all been writing to the Premier, have been writing to the education ministers, have been outside her office, rallying against all of this, saying you're harming our children. Our notices of liability have been sent to every school district, to elected officials. We've updated it, and we're going to be serving them again. So now listen to what David Eby has the gall to say and to blame in this matter.
I'm actually quite angry about what happened here. I sat at a table with a dad who lost a kid, who walked me through in excruciating detail the last moments of his child's life. It's changed me forever. And, I was just proximate to the tragedy that his family has experienced. They'll never be the same. And I want to share that with the OpenAI people. From the outside, it looks like they had a chance to prevent this. I don't know that for sure, but it sure looks like it. And I want to share with them the devastation that they caused on behalf of the families. And I want to have a commitment from them to support a consistent threshold across Canada for reporting so that this never happens again, and that it's a good standard that Canadians can support. And I want to share with them that the information that the RCMP has, as well as the information from social media providers, for example, will be ultimately public with British Columbians. They have questions. They want to know what happened. There will be a coroner's inquest or a public inquiry, or the police will share that information as part of their investigation. But now is the time to really be blunt and frank with British Columbians and Canadians about their involvement in this tragedy.
Really?
I'm actually quite angry.
Really? Does he mean that? If he does, he's going to take personal responsibility for this. And I tell you, the action that's coming out this week is going to demand that he does. And it's going to demand that SOGI 123 once and for all be completely eradicated from the BC education system. He is responsible. The education minister is responsible. This young man was deemed to have mental health issues where the RCMP had been showing up there. They knew this home. They knew that he was on these drugs and that there was psychedelic drugs being used as well. I cannot imagine a doctor or pharmacist saying, yeah, go ahead and take those drugs with antidepressants. They broke this young man's mind by indoctrinating him first. And this is not the only child. You see them out in public. You can see these kids. And no, you know what? We're not hating on the trans community. We're loving them enough to say you were not born in the wrong body, that God made you perfect in your mother's womb. And when your mom and dad held you as either a biological boy or a biological girl, they celebrated your birth. And that you have tragically been indoctrinated by evil individuals like David Eby, who consider that for the 0.001, once upon a time, 0.001% of the population is now 30-40% in the schools. There's no coincidence in that. Our kids are absolutely being brainwashed, and we've got to put a stop to it. And have you heard the most recent news in Tumbler Ridge? That victims' families have had to cancel the memorials and the funerals for their children because the trans community, there's backlash. They're coming after them because they're saying they're hurting the trans community from the negative backlash. This is unacceptable. And David Eby, this is on you. Because when you see events going on and these communities coming out violently attacking people like myself who are going to events to talk to parents and try to help them and try to turn this around, and that the police aren't stopping this, that they're not stopping Antifa, who's being paid, the Marxists who are behind this being paid to shut down reasonable dissent. Look what you've done to Dallas Brody in the House, who stood up against SOGI 123. You and John Rustad. This has got to stop. And what did the RCMP do? And all over the news. I love this. I give credit to the PPC for putting this little newspaper collage together. But they referred to this guy as a female. As a woman. Everywhere on here. Wasn't it something like a gun shooter as well? Everybody in Tumbler Ridge needed to be able to identify that this was a mentally ill man wearing a dress, and they needed to take cover, and they should have been blasting that out everywhere. And to show as well that David Eby is fully behind this for years, here's a letter that he put out. Without hesitation, I denounce threats, hate, and violence against 2S, LGBTQI, A+ alphabet soup communities. We are seeing a concerning rise in incidents where trans people are being targeted with threats and violence in person and online. Seriously? You want to talk about threats and violence? Just stop. This is from September 2023. And then this is another one. This is when, again, this is February of 2023. Our government is committed to ensuring that British Columbians of all backgrounds feel safe and respected. The well-being and safety of students and staff in our K-12 education system is a top priority. Really? Really, Mr. Eby? I don't see it. We are committed to making sure our schools are places where children of all sexual orientations, gender identities, and gender expressions feel safe, accepted, and respected. Stop sexualizing our children and breaking their little minds. When you hook them on pornography, then many of those children are going to have a lifelong addiction. You are breaking down their natural instincts against predatory behavior, and those predators are in the schools. And I'm going to show you something, my friends. I had Barry Neufeld and Pierre Barnes helping me out. I'm not going to take full credit for this, and I hope I can hold this up. Actually, I'm going to stop sharing screen for just a moment so you can fully see this. See this binder. You see this binder? This is only British Columbia. This was accumulated a couple of years ago, and everything in here documents, I can't really put it this way, I'm going to do it this way. These are cases against teachers and individuals in the school system about conduct of sexuality with students, misconduct. That binder right there, that's one province of what we could find. That's in this, because that's what the school system is now attracting. And I want to say there are, and this is the evidence. So don't say I'm cherry picking. There are many good teachers in the school system. We want them to stay, and we need to support them. You need to support them. But this has got to stop. This is not a safe place, Mr. Eby, for our children. I've got a second binder here. And this binder is all the evidence, every letter, everything on SOGI, child sexual abuse. It is your business to know about this. The documents of what's happening to our children. This is only a small fraction. I have file folders from every single chapter in British Columbia, and each one of them taking actions within their own community, addressing misconduct and abuse towards our children, recorded. So if they want to go to court, let's go. Because this has got to stop. SOGI is causing harm. And to the BC Human Rights Tribunal, who just ruled against Barry Neufeld, I pray to God that when he goes forward with this case, they will overturn it and that justice will prevail. And that the Human Rights Commission is going to be abolished because you are useless and you are causing extreme, serious harm to our children. And it is indeed measurable. So now I'm going to go back to the, I'm getting very close to being done here, so hang in there with me, but I'm just trying to provide you just a sliver of evidence of David Eby's participation in this mass psychosis and this mass indoctrination of our children. I'm like, I don't understand how any of them would think that this is a good thing, that for the 0.001, and they say, oh, it's now 30 or 40% because our kids never used to be able to express their true selves. It's like, get over it. Absolutely not. Did any kids ever, because they weren't being indoctrinated in kindergarten and presented with this information. That is the core to it. There is no other answer. And here it is, just showing a side of him that he supports the drag queen agenda. And I guess that's why I'm still in this battle with drag queen Frida Wales in Kelowna. We're going to court in June, and I sure hope that you'll continue to financially support Action for Canada and donate to us, because it's critically important that we win this battle. And we've already presented information on Tyson Cook that is so damning that it would have to take a corrupt judge in order to rule on his behalf. And we've got a very good lawyer, so continue to pray for us, continue to support us. But this whole drag queen thing as well, I'll be showing you John Euler's videos, which proves that drag queens, and he specializes in this because he's a professional that counsels sexual predators down in the United States, over 4,000 people, men in the prisons and whatnot. And he's done an excellent video series with us about the white-collar sexual psychopaths and who they are, and that he has said in all of his experience, his firsthand experience, that drag queens, every single drag queen is addicted to porn. So why do they want to be around our children then? Like, these are adult men with sexual proclivities, whatever it is. Like, this is what's causing parents concern. We're not saying they're sexual predators, but the question is, why do you want to be around our children? Right? We've got librarians to read to our children. Thank you very much. Now, on undercurrent issues in our menu, if you just scroll down, you'll see political LGBTQ here, and that will bring you to this page. I've covered it before. Sorry, I'll just minimize that for a moment. Here's the video I told you at the top of the page about the SOGI toolkit. I've done multiple other videos, presentations. You can get the notices of liability under this link. We've got so much good information. I forgot to put one up on homeschooling, but that is the number one I should have had at the end, is make sure you're pulling your kids out and homeschooling. You can figure it out, and we're here to help you to do that. So you can find the Homeschooling Revolution link on this page as well. We want to ban drag queen events. We've got a petition to do that. We've got resources for you to use. You can print flyers and notify people within your community. It's a truth bomb on a small piece of paper. I'm going to be talking about ban non-government flags and who is behind those flags. I know I'm coming up on an hour of the presentation, so I'm going to move quickly here. And the images of the kids being mutilated, the breast removed, is here. We talk about the World Health Organization and their standards starting from 0 to 4, sexuality, enjoyment and pleasure. This is what you're to teach your kids. This is what they should learn, is early childhood masturbation. If you don't think pedophiles are behind this, then you know what? You need to dig into this information because it's really, really important. We're going to talk briefly about the WPATH files and who the individuals are. These again are pedophiles and sexual deviants, and they are dangerous. They are so dangerous. And of course, WPATH, they are the ones responsible for the child mutilation, the surgeries, and prescribing what the medical procedures are for so-called transing youth. And shocking and horrific, as he says here, describes the leaked video and documents exposing the inner workings of the organization responsible for setting the so-called standards of care. And I'll go over a couple of those, but I encourage you as well, take this information, share it. This is a wicked attack against our children. This is the SOGI notice of liability page. I just kind of wanted it to be open here. As I've said, we've got different documents. Ontario, it's called Wynne Sex Ed. Beyond Basics, Nova Scotia. Stop Circ, it's called in Manitoba. And for every other province, we're using the SOGI 123. This is a little bit about the drag queen situation and the battle we're in there for exposing that individual and his access as a teacher's assistant with children, just because of his extracurricular hobbies, that he's involved in, and just questioning, is this a good candidate to be working with children? It's a matter of public interest. We've asked a fair question, so I won't continue down that page, but I want to make sure that you're equipped. Now, we've got this out, and we've actually had success in making sure that it was only the municipal, provincial, and federal flags that are being flown. And I really, really encourage you, especially coming up to pre-June, start communicating with your elected officials, mayors, city councils, and school boards, and just saying, look, you have a duty to be neutral and those spaces. And so we're demanding that you only fly the provincial, municipal, and federal flags. And then within the document, I asked the question, this is what you would be serving them. I would say, read it over so that you have an understanding of it. But I include the information on the WPATH, the people that are behind that, and their interest in sadomasochism and even pedophilic castration fantasies. Those documents are made available right here if you need access to that. And yet here, these mayors and city councils are like, oh yeah, we're going to put the LGBTQ pride flag up, and now it's got BLM and whatever else they've added to it. Totally oblivious. They think they're social justice warriors and doing a good thing. And instead, they are backing and supporting pedophiles, sadomasochists, and people interested in castration fantasies. This needs to be called out. And I also provide the information of the creator of the pride flag, Gilbert Baker, who says that's what flags are for. Flags are about proclaiming a power. That visibility is key to our success and to our justice. So they're planting those flags. They're going up the flagpole. The RCMP, they're claiming political control over the RCMP. They're claiming political control over our cities and our schools. Are you happy with that? These institutions are all supposed to be politically neutral. And unless you're demanding this, and unless you're educating them on this, they're only being lobbied by these groups who are whining and complaining and victimizing themselves. And now the Palestinians are doing it, and radicalism is coming up our flagpoles, and foreign politics is coming into this. And enough is enough. We need to take control of our country. And I would much rather be under the rule of Christian biblical principles than any of this secularism, communism, and whatever else, these foreigners as well that are coming into our nation and trying to take over and raise up their foreign political belief systems. This was just the report on the WPATH, is this International Association which sets guidelines for the medical transitioning of children. And you can't transition to children. You can only mutilate them. That's what they're doing. I'm sick of this word transitioning. It's impossible. Nobody's born in the wrong body. A boy, no matter what they do to themselves and what they get cut off or added, they cannot be a biological woman. and they're only hurting themselves, has been collaborating with participants of a fetish forum that hosts and produces fictional child pornography and extreme sadomasochistic content. This was another one, the report. This was one in reference to that. It's another gender surgery program in BC, but it happened to say performing lower gender affirming surgeries for transgender and gender diverse people. Well, what does WPATH want to do? They want to castrate our kids. And so these idiot doctors, they must be sickos themselves. And that's why I say, they need to have a psych evaluation before they're able to put a scalpel onto anybody, because now they're cutting off boys' penises. These are sadomasochists, according, to these reports. I'm not sure if it'll be up, but somewhere down here, I won't go into it further. You get the idea. Read the report, share them. This was one more headline. Defended NAMBLA. Oh, sorry, that's not the whole thing. Founding WPATH academic defended NAMBLA, leader child porn, and worked with pro-pedophile academic journal. And if you don't know what NAMBLA stands for, it's North American Man-Boy Love Association. Yes, you heard that right. Everything they want to do, and it would have been in the other reports, they want to normalize pedophilia. And actually, I did have this. So what he says is pedophiles have become the scapegoat for everything that seems to be wrong with American society and the family. We have institutionalized the hysteria. Pedophiles are so excluded from mainstream American society that they cannot really say what they do or what they believe in. That's right, because normally you'd take them out and they'd be hung for putting their hands on a child and having sex with a little boy or girl. Pedophilia is against the law, but if we don't come out strong against this, there should be the death penalty. We've got to stop these people from what they're doing. And these are the people for the medical transitioning and dictating what the care is for our kids. It is demonic, and it's sick, and it's got to stop. This is another one. Transgender lawmaker says queer children need access to pornography for educational reasons. Again, this person should be investigated, because pornography is what's breaking down our society. Because if you can get kids in a state of shame for life, they're controllable. And it ruins their lives. It will ruin their marriage. It will ruin their relationships. And that's what they're doing, right? That's the whole demonic attack against society, especially the attack against the natural family. Instead of teaching our kids biblical truths in school, which we once upon a time did in Canada, that's what education, where education was born from, was from the Bible. Was teaching morality, was teaching kids to wait until marriage to have sex. Those are the most successful marriages. Don't roll your eyes. It's a fact. But society has become so sexualized through the sexual revolution. And who is the father of the sexual revolution? We've gone over this, Alfred Kinsey, the pedophile, late 1948, who did experiments on children 24 hours a day around the clock, sexually abusing them, making them have orgasms from newborn up to, I think it was 14 years old. And from his research, he determined that children were sexual from birth, and therefore we need to teach them how to manage that. And so thus sex ed was born. And then sickos got behind him and funded it. It was done in Indiana, in the States is where he was from. 52 laws that undergirded our Christian values were changed regarding the family, regarding medicine, regarding all of this. And the sexual revolution was born. And for decades, this is what we're facing. And thank God, there are those through the national populist elections around the world who are going and returning back to a biblical standard, because they see that that was the most well-functioning societies where freedom prevailed, our children were healthy and safe, the pedophiles are locked up for good. And that's why I want to encourage you throughout here to think about your position on that, because elections are coming up at all levels of government. And who are you going to begin to choose to make it a priority to get behind and make sure they get elected? Don't elect by party. Make sure that you are electing the person based on their qualities and the fruit of their life. I don't want to hear these words coming from people's mouths. I want to see that they're living it out in advance. Don't start, getting behind somebody a month before an election. This should be years in the making right now. Find those people, encourage them to run for office. So if you look up John Euler, Jon Euler on in the search, you'll come up for this page, and we've got oh, that's right. Even Ann Gillies on here talking about the predators amongst us. And John is like a university course. You get 5 hours, but you get, I guess you just appreciate yourself that you completed the course. And I'll give you a pat on the back. Well done. But it is worth going through and then sharing with others, sharing with elected officials, because these people have infiltrated our governments. We got to pinpoint them, and we need to remove them, and we need to watch out for the future. As I've said, SOGI 123, kindergarten to 6, evidence of indoctrinating, grooming, and sexualizing our children is what we've been talking about. And then I'm just going to play this final video. And this is really emphasizes, this is, I think, this is from BC, safe, caring, and inclusive schools. It's an oxymoron as far as I'm concerned. And then they're all about the diversity, equity, inclusion. This is not what Canada looked like. All right, this is what they're forcing on society, and then they're wanting everybody's ideas shared, but you can't reasonably have a society. You have to have core values, and all of these people need to embrace, and they need to integrate and assimilate into our values. We're not going to accommodate anybody else, anybody anymore. And we need people that are going to get into office that's going to wipe all of this out, treat our kids equally, have the same expectations on them. They're going to learn Canadian history, and we're going to celebrate only Canadian holidays. We're going to wipe the calendar clean of all the foreign holidays, of all the propaganda, and we're going to start fresh and anew. But that's going to take some work. We're working on it, and I think it's worth it. So let's just play this for a few minutes.
Welcome to our school, Swell. Every school across BC, including ours, is a community of unique individuals, each bringing their own background, experiences, and perspectives. Together, we create a place where everybody's appreciated, regardless of differences, because everyone belongs. From the moment I step through the doors, I know I matter, just like everyone else. All the adults, including my principal, teachers, counselors, staff, and parents, work to make sure we all feel safe, respected, and heard. It's not just a goal, it's actually the law. Your right to be treated equally and equitably is protected by many laws and declarations in British Columbia, Canada, and around the world, including the BC Human Rights Code, BC Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act, and the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Every student, staff, and community member, regardless of race, culture, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, or ability, is welcome and should feel comfortable and cared for at school. Whenever you face challenges, there's always a caring adult to turn to for guidance.
Okay, that's all I'm going to play. It's so filled with propaganda, and crap. I get nauseous even listening to it, because it may sound all very fluffy and nice and puppy dogs and butterflies and to them unicorns, I guess, but it's not realistic. Okay, you cannot exist worldwide. Multiculturalism is known as a failure when the host country's values aren't being embraced. We've got the Muslims that are coming in here, and they want to celebrate Ramadan, and they want their prayer mats. And then we have the Sikhs that are coming in, and they want our country, man. They want a province to call their own. It doesn't work. We got to stay true to Canada. And so I just wanted to play a clip from that to understand this is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we can't allow all other false gods coming into our country to come into our schools and indoctrinate our children. We have certain values and principles in Canada. If I want that, I will move to India. I will move to an Islamic country. I will move to North Korea or China. You know what happened to me in all of those countries? I'd be persecuted. I'd be imprisoned. I certainly wouldn't be allowed to run for office. So why are we being forced with all of this garbage, this indoctrination, to say that we have to accept this? Wipe all of this out. The children come to school. They learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. They learn to be polite. We get them ready for society and know how to and manage their finances. They know how to live in fidelity and to be in a relationship and to honor one another instead of being so self-centered and thinking of their own feelings. How are they going to survive in a marriage? It's ridiculous. It's not realistic. And then you've got EGLE. EGLE is a radical LGBTQ activist group that is funded by the federal government. They use their millions of dollars by the government strategically to do lawfare. When we won in 2023 against the Saskatchewan government to remove SOGI 123, I guess they thought they were so close to a win, but they lost. And UR Pride is pushing the LGBTQ agenda in the schools, where kids were like, I don't know, years ago, 32% of kids now identified in a survey as LGBTQ. Why? Because they're presenting all of this garbage in schools. And so EGAL didn't like the sound of them losing, so they've come behind UR Pride, and they're fighting this tooth and nail in Saskatchewan at something like $3,000 an hour for lawyers. That's our tax money. That's our tax money. And this is why we need to care about who we get into office. But there are some good things happening. There are some wins. The American Society of Plastic Surgeons announced it will no longer support gender-related surgical procedures for minors while it conducts a comprehensive review of the scientific evidence. You think? Really? Do you really actually need to get any scientific evidence? Super happy I didn't put the link up here as well, but Danielle Smith, because of people pressing in and explaining to her about the harms, she as well, and those LGBTQ mobs, EGAL is in there in Alberta with all their $3,000 an hour and millions of dollars of taxpayer money trying to fight against the Alberta government because they also said, no, you're not going to give puberty blockers to our kids or do these mutilating surgeries. Well, they didn't say it that way. I am, but you get where I'm going with that. So we are winning. And that's the major thing that we need to remember and understand. Because of the work, we're on the winning side of this. It's all collapsing. Detransitioner wins $2 million malpractice suit in major legal victory in the United States. She had sued her psychiatrist and the doctor, and she was 16 when they mutilated their body. And at 22 years old, she has this victory. And this is just the beginning. And as you may know, Chloe as well, who was indoctrinated as a child, and her body was mutilated, and she was abused psychologically, medically, physically, and she is pursuing legal action as well. There's something like 28 more cases and thousands more to come. And so I will go over our notice of liability, our update, but I just wanted you to see a visual of it. This was the massive win in Saskatchewan against SOGI 123, getting it shut down and banned Planned Parenthood because they had those horrific sex cards that had just accidentally got into the hands of young students. And it wasn't the first time. And on the page, again, if you're following me, we provide all the times, that they had just had this faux pas about getting these adult sexual cards into the hands of children. These people have no place anywhere near our schools or near children. They got to be stopped. So that was a big breakthrough. And then, of course, this was the Alberta massive win in the beginnings of getting these books removed. And we are hopeful that SOGI 123, as well as now they can start to put together the connection that I've made for you tonight. I really hope that this show has been beneficial. I'm asking you to please give us a thumbs up. I'm asking you to please share our Rumble and YouTube videos. We're having a really hard time getting our information out, but this is a presentation that I think everybody should see, that I think you should send to elected officials. Say, watch this program, and then build a relationship with them and say, I want to have conversation with you afterwards. You can even put this setting on 1.5 and you can get through it a little bit quicker. If you don't know how to do that, you just go to your settings and then you can speed a little quicker through the video as well. I always try to get them in under an hour, but I was not going to shortcut this presentation tonight because I'm kind of building this case so that when we launch the action against the premiers, education ministers, health ministers, teachers, principals to remove SOGI 123 and just this dangerous, stop this dangerous ideology from being taught to our children, we are going to see a massive turnaround. My heart bleeds, my heart aches for our children. And we are going to continue to pursue stopping it. Now, the notice of liability, we just updated it, and I just want to show you where. We've made a really strong statement. Legal accountability of those facilitating this harm against our children is not a matter of if, but when. I want you to emphasize that with the school board trustees. And right here is the in the links down below, number 2 is the Wynne, the $2 million malpractice suit. There was another one, number 1, a while ago, where a mom had won against a school district, $100,000 settlement. And then on the next page as well, we talk about, we do include, I'm sorry, I'd have to pick it out here. We do include the Tumbler Ridge evidence, because that is the measurable harm. Okay, and then we've also included the 43% higher risk of violent crime and the facts that there's a 19-fold higher suicide risk. And then, of course, we provide the links for that within this report as well. So get busy. Get busy, everybody. Send it by registered mail. Get a group of you together, send it to your premiers, education ministers, raise the money for it within your communities, serve it straight to the education minister's office, video record it, hang on to them, keep these copies. If anybody ever served David Eby a notice of liability, or your premier in another province, would you please send that, the SOGI 123 notice of liability, would you please right away send that to call2@actionforcanada.com. We want to have a folder with more of these notices of liability in it as we build evidence, as I said, these binders, as we build evidence to get ready for the possibility, that there may be a trans person that's going to need it as well. Who knows where this is going to go, but I'm going to pray and continue to hope that this is going to come to fruition. And again, I just want to bring up the notice of liability page so that you can see where you can get them. We've updated every single notice of liability for you, so it's all ready to go. And this, in the end, I'm just wrapping up now. I'm going to come back to the fact why we need to pray for Canada, why we need to humbly be praying for God to heal our land, because he says when we humble ourselves and confess our sins, that we repent and turn from our wicked ways, God promises to heal our land. So let's just do that. Let's come together. Let's pray around these government institutions, and let's continue to pray that God will show up. And he is a God of miracles, and he is all powerful, and the enemy doesn't have control over him. What this is he's looking at us as having failed by removing him from all of these institutions. So it's time to get right with God. Okay, again, please donate to Action for Canada, as we're on the front line of all these battles. There's different ways that you can donate. So we encourage you to do that. Please support us, become a monthly donor. It's so much appreciated. And we work on a very thin budget. And I don't mind saying, just for those who are like, oh yeah, they got this core team and they're all probably making, 6 figures. It's like, no, I actually receive $1,400 a month. That's what I'm doing to contract out to Action for Canada to do this work, because of the fact that we don't have millions of dollars. We're not like EGEL, who are getting millions of dollars from the government. And I can tell you that once these institutions start losing the government subsidies, they will disappear as well. And that was very evident during the Pride parades last year, when Trump started to bring the hammer down against anybody, any businesses who were funding these organizations. Plus, he cut off a ton of funding, that even it had a ripple effect where Pride parades in Toronto, like whining and complaining that they didn't have enough money. I think in Calgary and in Vancouver. And that's what we need to do. We need to take away the money, because these people are so useless that who knows how they would operate. They'd be in the same boat of us, but we've got people that understand that we're in a war, and they're willing to sacrificially give up their time. And that's what we're asking for all of you. If it's only $10 a month that you can give us, please sacrificially give in whatever way you can. We appreciate it. We've got legal actions. We've got a war chest to keep, monies in, and we're committed to working hard for you. Okay, so Terenzio, I'm going to just stop sharing screen right now, the reason we're going to end on is that's the end of the presentation. Next week, I'm going to be taking a break because I have some actions that I need to focus on and get out. Some very important phone calls to make. We've got some connections with people in higher levels of government that we have the ear of and that respect the work of Action for Canada. So please keep praying for us. This is major breakthrough. And I believe that God is going to answer some more big and amazing prayers as he opens those doors for us. So next week, we had the event last Friday, and it was an Action for Canada event to launch chapters within the Lower Mainland areas, Langley and Surrey and the surrounding areas. We had a fantastic turnout, and Dallas Brody was our special guest speaker. And it was just phenomenal. So what we're going to do is, because that event was live, but it wasn't a very good version of it, we're putting a new version together, and we'll play that next week for you. So be sure to join us next week. I think that you will be encouraged by it. You'll be mobilized by it. You're going to get a fire in your belly to get involved within your own community. And I'm hoping more of you will reach out to Action for Canada, no matter where you are in the country, and you're going to decide to become a chapter leader or a co-lead, or maybe you have some financial experience where you could support our chapter leaders with that. All right, so our Bible verses tonight are from Psalm 139, 13 to 14. And I'm really hoping that maybe some people joined us tonight who are part of the LGBT community, who are having some doubts, or maybe just wanted to see what we'd be talking about tonight. And the message for you is this: that God saw you and loved you before you were born. And the Bible verse says, "For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made." That is what God has to say to you tonight. He loves you. You were never born in the wrong body. You've been deceived. And we want to love on you, pray for you, and help you move to get through this. And if you want to reach out to us at call2@actionforcanada.com, we can send you some resources. So, and maybe put you in contact with somebody within your community that can assist you as you navigate through this. So just God bless you. And the second verse is from Matthew 18, 6 to 7. If anyone, this is another promise from the Bible. That's what I mean. Justice is coming. And that these people behind this is one reason why they want to make the Bible illegal. It's because of verses like this, because these people, they know what they're doing is causing harm. I believe that 100%. It says, if anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. Woe to the world because of the things that cause people to stumble. Such things must come, but woe to the person through whom they come. And this is not a threat. This is not a threat from me to David Eby or, an education minister who's been an activist and has been indoctrinating our children and harming them, because the opening verse says very clearly, this is between you and the Lord. He says, if anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, this is God talking, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around your neck, because you're going to be standing before God one day and he's going to judge you for what you've done. So turn from your wicked ways and do the right thing. Remove SOGI and get on with educating our children according to what your mandate is. And then finally, I love this verse. I've been using it a lot lately. Galatians 6:9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. And that's a praise hallelujah on that one. I'm seeing it happen. We are seeing this evil other side. It is collapsing. The majority of Canadians do not support this. We just need to help you to get your voice raised up there. And the best way to do that is to participate in the actions with Action for Canada, talk to your neighbors, send the information to your elected officials. That is how you can help change history. Okay? History is in the making. Be on the right side of history. So thank you for joining me tonight and for hearing this presentation. I'm going to count on it that you're going to share it. God bless you, and God bless Canada.
In times of financial uncertainty, safeguarding your assets is increasingly important. In response to ongoing inflation, economic challenges, and market instability, many Canadians are adopting the timeless strategy of investing in precious metals. Historically, gold and silver have held their value, safeguarding your assets against economic turmoil. Action for Canada is pleased to announce our partnership with Steve of Sun City Silver, providing valued members of A4C with expanded investment opportunities designed to help you achieve your financial goals. Steve is an ally of the Freedom Movement, and he's offering members of Action for Canada exclusive access to some of Canada's premier prices. By leveraging his connections with Silver Gold Bull, you can access competitive rates for securing your precious metals. Silver Gold Bull is a trusted Canadian leader, offering live pricing 24/7 and boasting nearly 400,000 five-star reviews on Trustpilot. For an order of $5,000, be sure to indicate you're an Action for Canada member and receive a complimentary 1967 silver dollar, courtesy of Sun City Silver. Expand your collection further by referring a new customer who places a similar order, and Steve will reward you with a special bonus thank you gift. Your purchase with Steve is a dual investment. You invest in your future while simultaneously supporting the Freedom Movement with a percentage of each sale benefiting Action for Canada. For more information, be sure to visit actionforcanada.com/purchasing-precious-metals/. Secure your assets. Protect your future. Support Action for Canada and the Freedom Movement. The information presented is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended to provide financial, legal, or tax advice, as we are not licensed financial advisors, accountants, or attorneys and cannot provide professional counsel. Be advised that the content and information provided does not create a client relationship. We recommend you consult with a qualified professional advisor before making any financial, legal, or tax decisions. Please note that Action for Canada is not responsible for an individual's financial outcome. Remember, your decisions are your own, and we recommend doing your own research before making any investment.
If you are here today pursuing freedom and righteousness.